All right. All right, we're good to go. How many people have not been to one of my presentations before? Okay, good. That's awesome. As you know now that we're here, let's ask questions as we go on this one. So that if you have them, we'll get them then so we don't forget them and they pile up or anything. And Ron's got a mic here. Give me the mic. I'll go on and off camera. It's okay to do that. And I will hand this to you should the need arise for the things. But don't be afraid to ask questions. A little bit, Mike was nice enough to provide a map of Lake Superior. How many people have done the Lake Superior circle thing? All right, good, pretty good. Oh, partly, come on, you didn't make it. Okay. And so that's good too. So there'll be, that's not so good because I hate to have people who really know because you just really can't blow by things then, you know, you get all this fact checking going on and stuff. I'm going to go a little quickly because I have 154 slides. That's a lot of slides for this. So in order to make it through, we'll have to move right along. But nonetheless, if there are questions or things, let's do them. And this is a pretty standard opening for those of you that have been to my travel presentations. I always start with the bucket list. Told you the story before. Our sons always asked Ginny, what in the world's a bucket list? She would tell them. They didn't believe it. Now they have one. And the thing about bucket lists is these buckets always have bottoms in them. So as soon as something gets out of it, there's a new one that goes in. The odds of you ever emptying the bucket, not very good. We're up to 104 countries now. Didn't make any new ones on this one. Canada and the US. Got a trip coming up. We're leaving in about 10 days, a little less than 10 days on a 71-day cruise around Africa. So there'll be some more talks coming from that. These are some of my favorite places that we visited. Everybody has them. They always ask us when we're traveling, what's your favorite place? And usually we say it's the last one we visited. Although these are high on the list. That's Guilin, China, Istanbul, Machu Picchu, the Atacama Desert in Chile. Probably one of the coolest places ever is in the upper left there. That's Iguazu Falls, Argentina-Brazil border. Biggest iceberg I've ever seen, about time and a half as big as the ship. That was pretty impressive. That's Victoria Falls, and then that's Burma or Myanmar. This is a little smaller version of the map that Mike provided. He provided a realistic one. This is out of the, the book that you can get for free if you want a magazine that you can get for free from a company called the Circle Lake Superior Tour Company. They publish a magazine every year. They update it, gives you a map like this, gives you a pull-out map that you can use as you travel. And then it has recommendations on things to see and do, where to eat, where to stay, these kinds of things. And then they also publish about a 3/4-inch thick book, which I bought on the tour, but it's massively inconvenient to use when you're traveling because it's in alphabetical order, not geographical. So it's a great reference to use when you're planning, but it's worthless when you're actually traveling. We did not do 100% of the Circle Lake Superior tour in this because we've already gone back and forth across the UP 10 times up on the south shore of Lake Superior. We go every year 2 or 3 times to the UP. So we started in Marquette. So we went from here to Marquette and then we went clockwise, and where the stars are where we stayed overnight. So you can get an idea there about how long we had planned. They say you can do this in 5 to 7 days, but you're not going to see much. It's a little over 1,300 miles, shortest distance. Gitchigumi, we all know that, right? We all know that. Gitche Gumee. Where did that come from? That came from Henry Wordsworth Longfellow in 1855. He coined that phrase, Gitche Gumee. It was a misinterpretation of the Ojibwa pronunciations, which are at the bottom. They have two, Gitchigami or Kitchigami. And as you travel around the lake, you see those two bottom spellings everywhere. And you'll see them both. So those are the real ones. And that means those at the bottom, big sea or huge water. That's what those words mean. Here's what we did. 1300, we did waterfalls, lighthouses, iron mines, copper mines, amethyst mines, the Logos Suspension Bridge, hiking. There's where we went. We didn't see all 28 craft breweries, but we did our best. And same thing with the vineyards. En route to Marquette, of course, it was a beautiful day crossing the bridge. That's on the north side there. And then one of our favorite places, as you're traveling up that way, it's just about the right distance from Alpena for lunch. If you're going up to the UP, it's in Manistee, called the Upper Crust Deli. If you haven't been there, a lot of you are nodding your heads, really a good place. And while we were there, we ate lunch on the patio out back, and they were dredging the canal. So we got to watch some really interesting stuff while having lunch. First stop was in Marquette. We've been to Marquette several times, but we did a few things we hadn't done in the past. We went to the Maritime Museum, kind of cool. One of my favorite things were these rescue line mortars that you see there in the upper right. They actually fire those projectiles that you see on the left, and they can go 200 or 300 yards with that and shoot a rescue line out to people in the water. So I thought that was kind of neat. The interesting thing about these birch bark canoes are those are the real deal. Those are from 1870 and 1894. So those are ones that were in use back in the time when that skill was still heavily practiced. So that's really interesting to see that. And while you're there, this is just a short walk from the museum up to the Harbor Light. And little details about that. It's really a beautiful day, as you can see. And it was a great day to visit the light. One of the things that is in the book and in the magazine is to visit the Peter White Public Library. Well, why in the world would anybody ever go to a public library? Well, on a Circle Lake Superior tour. And the thing is, the interesting thing is, look at the two different views there of that building, front and back. That's an interesting architectural structure, to have a front that looks like the view in the upper left, and the back, it's kind of incongruous. And so it was really interesting there. The other thing that's really interesting is they have kind of a pretty good sized room in there dedicated to their sister cities in Japan and Finland, and it's full of arts and crafts from those two countries. So it's really interesting to visit for that. And then the stained glass windows. So those things are what you go there for. We're on our way to one of our favorite places in Marquette, and we saw this sidewalk art, which we thought was kind of cool. So we had to put that in there. And we've been here before, but we go back every time that we're in Marquette. This is one of the best craft breweries beer that we've had anywhere we've ever traveled. And so we always go back to Black Rocks when we're in Marquette, and we do the flights because you get to taste everything that way. And then we had Whitefish at Veerling's, which is a traditional restaurant there in Marquette, been around for 100 years, and just one of those things you do when you're in Marquette. And the most photographed thing in Marquette, and actually this is either the second or third most photographed structure in the United States. Think about that. People in going to Marquette, Michigan, and to get that high a number. And this is that same day when I took that picture of the orb dock. This is the picture of the bay. So it was just a beautiful day in Marquette. Got up the next morning and went out to the Superior Dome. How many been out here to the Superior Dome? Great place. I'd never been there. That's pretty impressive. World's largest wooden dome structure. There's the data on it. A really impressive interior. The wood beams all laminated. Can seat up to 16,000 if they fully deck it out with a number of people. So it's really, if you haven't been to this particular structure and you're in Marquette, you should go out and see it. And you can walk inside. So if it's a nasty day, it's a good place to walk around, and they've got a area to do that. We had a Yooper breakfast. So this is kind of cool. Get up in the morning, have Yooper. Okay, who can pronounce that sausage? Okay, there we go. Cudahy sausage, right? And how many have had Cudahy sausage? Oh, weak. Come on, when you get up there next time, up to the Yoop, find some Cudahy sausage. They say it's Finnish, it's not, it's Italian. It's Italian sausage, and the things was kind of taken over by Finland. It got very popular in Finland, and now about the only place in the world that has it is the UP. So it really is a unique thing. And when you can get fresh walleye fillets for breakfast. Good question. I don't remember the name. It's some little tiny restaurant in Marquette. I've got it somewhere. Gotta go, huh? Is this taking too long, Ron? Oh. Next time. We'll repeat the question next time. The question was, what's the name of the restaurant? The answer is, I don't know. And we went to Canyon Falls at Lance. That's an interesting walk. They've redone almost 90% of the walkway since the last time we were there. We have been here before. So it's really easy to do now, really good walkways and trails to get out there. Little babbling brooks, a little bit of rapids and little bigger things, and then those are the falls. And that's about the best view that you can get to of the falls when you're there, but it's worth doing. And then we went to Copper Peak. After that, we tried to go one time before and it was closed because electricity was out. So we went this time, the wind's blowing 35 to 50 miles an hour. Let me tell you how much that fun that is going up this thing. This is the information about it on the screen there. You can see it was the reason this is so tall and so big was back in the time this was constructed, skis were totally different than they are now. And so they needed this super long, super high jump to get to speed. Now, because of the increase in the technology design of skis, all the ski jumps are much, much shorter and they fly much, much further than they did off of this one. So that's kind of an interesting thing. We had a beautiful day. You go up in an elevator, you get off at the number 7 starting gate, which is where they used to start most of the jumps from. That's the view down the run. And this is the view from the peak, from the absolute top. And I was really surprised you can see Lake Superior from there. So that's quite the view from Copper Peak. Then we stopped in Ironwood. We didn't stay overnight in Ironwood. We stayed overnight next door in Wisconsin. But we had to see Hiawatha, tallest Indian statue in the United States. Built in '64, we're going to see a couple more examples of road art, which was really popular in the mid-'60s to try to attract people to your town. And the most important part of this is Find Ginny. Yeah, so that gives you an idea how big that statue is. Oh, there's a brewery in Ironwood. And on we go, Ashland. On the way, this is kind of interesting. We were racing thunderstorms this morning, and it rained every day from now on, the rest of the time out. So we're racing thunderstorms to get to Copper Falls State Park. We get there, it's just drizzling a little bit, off we go. Really good trails. This is the first little waterfall that you come to on the trail set. There's 3 waterfalls on the set. From here, you go into an even nicer trail set to get to Brownstone Falls on the thing. Going in a shoulder season or off season, we intentionally picked these dates that we went to be not high season. So we left on the 8th of September to do this. There was nobody home. in these state parks. We saw 10 people in this state park, and they have parking for 500 in this state park. So it's busy in the summer. And that's Brownstone Falls. And then right after this, a lady said, it's gonna rain. We met them on the thing. She had her, I don't know how she got reception out there because I didn't have, she had reception on her phone. Thunderstorm's coming. So Ginny and I booked for the car, got to the car, and the thunderstorm hit 1 minute later. So it was awesome for us. If you're out there traveling to Ashland, this is a must-see place. This is the Visitor Center in Ashland. This is the Northern Great Lakes Visitor Center. It is really awesome. A place that are very, very helpful, museum inside. And one of the things to do in Ashland is they have a mural walk, which I hope someone is developing in Alpena, because we have enough now that we should have a brochure and a route to go around with an explanation of the murals, which they do for Ashland. And we did, but number 18, there's actually 19 now, but it was 18 was the last one, is in here. This took 5 years to complete this thing. $300,000 they paid the artist to do this. That's half of it. There's the other half. It's a wraparound mural. It's okay. It's the stunning part is 5 years and $300,000. That's the thing.
Rocky.
Yes. Hold it. I'll just repeat the question.
How big is that?
That whole facility,
Yeah.
or the mural?
For the mural.
The mural. The question is, how big is the mural? The mural is the whole end of the building. So the end cap that you can see in this picture with the couple standing there at the back is as wide as this back wall. And then these coming down the side are twice that long. So that it's good size. It's well done, but not awe-inspiring artistic work, according to me, who is a really qualified art critic. Oh my God, guess what? There's a brewery in Ashland. So, and there is the map page of the brochure that they have in Ashland for doing the walks. And we hit them all except number 17 on there, which is 2 miles west, and we didn't do that one. We didn't go out to number 17, but we hit all the rest of these. And you're gonna see them all. Like this. I'm gonna show you 3 or 4 at a time, and they have themes to every one. Some are more well done than others. Some are really, really good. Like the individuals in that top, which are showing the different working people jobs in the town, is the facial things are really good. And that's how you can, to me, you can judge something about the quality of their artistic abilities, how well they do the faces, how well they fit on their necks and shoulders, and what do their hands look like. This person who painted that knew what they were doing. That bottom one, the middle one's Old Ashland. The bottom one's a similar thing for the railroad, this was a big railroad stop, actually a big port. That's a painting of the ore dock. These buildings you see when you do the mural walk. You walk by each one of these buildings that are in the middle mural there, and they're really, really nice buildings. Of course, the water is important. This is the top one there is all glass mosaic. So that's not paint on there. That's all done with glass and ceramic mosaics. That's on a wall. That's one individual mural. This one, the one with the 3 ladies on it, was paid for by the bakery shop owner. When he closed the bakery, he wanted to honor his workers. So those are the actual faces of the workers who worked in his bakery for 20 years. Then you walk under this bridge, and this, the artwork under the bridge and on the other side was funded by a fundraiser by a man who was wheelchair bound. And he wanted something that honored the people with disabilities, and he got this underpass funded. so that people with disabilities could get to the park on the other side. Other than that, they had no way to get to the park on the other side. So he did that. So this artwork is memorialized to him. These are all mosaics and really well done. It doesn't show well because it's inside that underpass and the lighting's awful. So it doesn't show up and give you an idea how good this artwork really is. Now we're changing locations now. Just up the road 25 miles or so is a little town called Bayfield. This is the gateway to the Apostle Islands. And I'll show you a map in a minute that shows you a little bit more about the Apostle. Beautiful day there. They had art on the bay that day, so we had an added advantage of walking around. A town of 800 people, and in the summer it goes up to like 5,000 because it's a really popular place to go and stay. These are the Apostle Islands, a little archipelago off there, and one of the most popular tour sites in the United States, and I had no idea that it was that popular and that thing. You see where Bayfield is down there. Red Cliff is even smaller. The star there is where we left. We chartered our own boat to go out to, rather than take the Apostle Island cruise, which is kind of a 70 or 100 person cruise kind of ship. We got a smaller boat, and that little red outline there is the route we took. That's 4.5 hours of traveling in the boat to do that. So you get an idea what people on the bigger boat don't get to do, because we were going 40, 50 miles an hour between islands. That's our boat. That's a pretty tiny little boat for Lake Superior. And there were 4 people on the boat. First place we stopped on the boat, Raspberry Island Lighthouse. Closer view. This is the first cave, one of 100 probably caves that we saw out there. This is actually on Raspberry Island, the same thing. The interesting about this, if you see that sunlight showing through in the back of the cave, we drove into the cave in that little boat, and this is the view from inside. So that's really cool. Now, you don't get to see any of that if you're on that bigger boat, if you're on the regular Apostle Island tour. And then we change islands. We go to a little bigger island, Bear Island. This is the cave's view coming into the island, and they pretty much surround the whole side of the island. These kayakers, it's 8 miles out and 8 miles back for those kayakers. That's some work. I have admiration for those people that are in that kayak doing that. They're in better shape than I am, telling you. I didn't put any real pictures of because I have like 12,000 cave pictures from this tour on Apostle Islands, and I didn't really use any on Bear Island because the ones on Devil Island are so much better. And I thought after Bear Island, oh man, this is cool. And then we got to Devil's Island. This is Devil's Island Lighthouse. Ginny and I are huge lighthouse fans. We've probably been to 100. This is our first cave. Now I'm just going to go through these 5 seconds at a time, okay, for each of these pictures. If anybody squeals a little bit, I'll stick on one longer, or if you have a question. But this is what it looks like coming in. Now realize if you're in that other tour boat, you get to see this. This is as close as you ever get in the regular tour boat, not our tour boat. Here we go. Oops, that's us inside that cave that I just showed you looking out. So thanks. Those are all different. That's not the different views of the same rock. Sandstone. Yeah, this is sandstone and some bits of basalt in there mixed in, and that's why it comes off in layers. And it doesn't have the coloration beauty of pictured rocks. Doesn't have the different minerals and things that make the coloration, but the caves and the views and the things are 10 times better than picture. I mean, at least 10 times better. That's the view back of all those that we just came through. And we're back in another one. This is some of the coloration, which was pretty good in this cave. That's inside a different cave. And another one. That's inside coming back out. So that's an idea. I probably have another 20 shots of in those caves. It's just really, really cool thing to do. This is Sand Island Lighthouse. Closer view. Really, really nice lighthouse. And that pretty much takes care of what we did in the Apostle Islands, and we're on to Duluth. One of the places in the guidebook, both the guidebook and the magazine, it says you have to stop is the Thompson Hill Welcome Center. And it's not because it's the Welcome Center, it's the view. This is the view from Thompson Hill Welcome Center. That's Duluth in the distance. We happen to hit just an absolute perfect time of day with the cloud cover and the lighting and the striations and everything. It just ended up being a great picture and view off back toward the city of Duluth. It must have been. It must have been. It's really, really good to do. And it's a great, it is a great welcome center. They've got a ton of information and they can help you with anything. We stopped at, how many are, any birders in here? Mike Andrick is a birder. We're not, but we stopped at Hawk Ridge Nature Reserve. It's on the flyway, predominantly predators, predator birds. And so what they're looking for, so we get out there, there's about 2 predator birds and 88 predator bird watchers set up in their and they're there for all day. They came for the day. They've got their picnic and their things and their stuff, and they're there to watch birds. And I mean, there were 2. So, but it was worth doing. We can say we did it. And then we went to Glen Sheen Mansion, which I thought was a very, very worthwhile tour to do. We've been to a million of these also in our travels. The interesting thing about this one is virtually everything in this mansion is as it was originally, including all the furniture. This is all the original furniture from the original family. This thing's not stuffed with things to make it appear like it was in 1894. This is how it was in 1894. Everything authentic. So really, really interesting tour. I'm just going to show you a couple of things that I found were really interesting. This is the shower. Look at that shower, 1890s. 12 shower heads. Yeah, that's what I thought. That guy knew what he was doing. And then that is a mammoth-sized bidet. I don't care, that is a big one. And every bathroom had one. Every bathroom. You could lose your footing and you could be gone in that baby. That was a big one. The reason I took this chair on the left is it's very, very worn, and they have it in a place where you really can't touch it and things, but it's got a 1300s Belgian tapestry on it. It doesn't show well in the photo, once again, but amazing, amazing. I've been to Belgium a bunch of times because I lived 2 hours away for 6 years. And so this is every bit as good of tapestry work as I've seen in Belgium. It's really, really cool. And then we had to get the picture of the sewing machine. Anybody see the sewing machine there? Kind of in the front. That's Ginny's thing. Oh my God, look at that sewing machine. And that's the oldest working sewing machine we've ever seen anywhere. That is an old crank sewing machine. And I love this stove. I'd love to have this stove. And look at that thing. Man, that's a great stove. That's the backyard. And on into how many people heard of Duluth Trading Company? Yeah, the home of what? Buck naked underwear. Yeah, that's right. And so we went there and bought a few things in Duluth Trading. Fitger's, that's the oldest craft brewery in Minnesota. And also #1 now, #1 craft brewery in Minnesota. That's pretty big rating because there's 1 million of them in Minnesota. So we went there and did what? Oh my God, there's a brewery in Fitger's. And that's the standard. You don't get to adjust down to 3 or 4. That's how many you get. When you order a flight, you get that. So that was good. Yeah, that's right. This is our hotel. We stayed in an area down called Canal Park in Duluth, very touristy area. This is Endion Station Inn, has 5 rooms in this building. We have the one that's upstairs in the balcony. So you can see that little balcony there. That's our room up there. That's the view from the balcony. Out over that concrete thing you see is a concrete and wood walking path that circumnavigates this whole Canal Park area. So you get on it, you walk around maybe 2 miles, 2.5 miles around the distance. Really well done. This is Endion Station in 1939. One of the most active little railroad stations in Duluth. So that's the same building, 1939. This is one of the most famous things in Duluth, the lift bridge. This is it halfway up. I picked this particular, I probably got 20 shots of this. I picked this one because the seagull was in it. So, and that shot, the one just before that with the seagull, was they were putting up for this guy, the Philip R. Clark, coming into the channel, 1,000 feet long, coming through the channel there. So that was impressive to see it come into the channel and under that bridge. And that's a picture of it going away with the bridge fully raised. That's the lighthouse at the end of that pier. And I just put this in here to say we did this. We took about a 3-hour harbor tour because Duluth and Superior are the twin harbors now, biggest freshwater harbor in the world. Port, not harbor, port, biggest freshwater port. They do a ton of commerce in and out of those 2 ports. Yes, sir.
Is there locks there on that river, or is there no water?
Okay, the question was, are there locks on the river or that canal? And the answer is no. It's just a standard level. They dredge it out about every 3 or 4 years, that part in the canal. When they first dug, we're making this talk run from 45 minutes to 3 hours, but part of the thing when they first dug this canal, the Port of Superior was the dominant port. They did not want this canal dug. So they went to the Supreme Court to get an injunction to stop them from digging this canal at Duluth on the things. They got their injunction. Between the time they filed and they got the injunction, the people of Duluth went out there with shovels and dug that canal. So they already had the canal, water running through the canal by the time they had their injunction, so it was overcome by events. And now you have that. The first part to mitigate the question was, did they dig that canal by hand? The answer is initially just to get water flowing through it so they could claim they had a canal. And so now it was no longer viable for this injunction to say you can't dig the canal because they already did. Then they went in with regular equipment and built the actual channel itself. This is another place that if you haven't been, if you've been to Duluth, I mean, I think it's a great city. We'd love to go back. And this is the Railroad Museum. This is the building called the Depot, famous, importantly enough. This is the oldest locomotive in Minnesota, 1861. Of course, it's been massively restored. William Crookes, #1 is the name of this engine, and William Crookes developed the first railroad in Minnesota. This beautiful museum. I only have a couple of shots. This is one I posted on Facebook. For those of you that are Facebook friends with me, I posted this and said, "What is this?" And I fly fighters or flew fighters for a living. We have pretty complicated cockpits. Nothing like this. I've never, this was the most complicated piece of machinery that I've ever seen. That's the locomotive control panel. And we're leaving Duluth just like this freighter. And from Duluth, and this is the mistake I made. Well, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but in the planning, there's a lot of things to do on this side of the bay between Duluth and Thunder Bay. And so I put 2 stops in there, 2 harbors and Grand Marais, 2 overnight stops, and you really only need 1. That's too many. So that's a lesson learned. Later on, we'll talk about lessons learned, and that's a lesson learned. That's too many. You don't need that many stops. Waterfalls, waterfalls, waterfalls. This is on the way to 2 harbors, Gooseberry Falls, and you can walk right into the water on that one. So that's kind of cool about this. And then you can walk up to the top and walk across that bridge at the top to the other, which I did, and go to the other side. And this is a picture of me having gone up across the bridge, back down, and now I'm on the other side of the falls. And that's Ginny as close as you can get to the top of the falls on this side. On the way in to 2 harbors, everybody's got to eat. So where do you eat? Betty's Pies. Why wouldn't you eat at Betty's Pies? 15 kinds of pies there. Packed. We had to wait about 15 minutes to get in, and there were 20 people waiting when we left. No reservations, no this, no, you just show up and wait. This is a snap I took on top of the trash enclosure in Gooseberry Falls Park. I thought that was kind of cool. Most of these places are in state parks. And so if you're going to do a lot of them, you might look into getting a sticker first that'll cover all of them. I think it's kind of like us. It's like 28 or 30 bucks for the sticker for all of them for a year. And it's 10 bucks a whack if you do it. One by now. The other answer to that is there was nobody home at most of these state parks, so you didn't have to stop, because the actual viewing places themselves, in many cases, you don't have to go through the park entry to get to the falls. You have to have the sticker to park. So sometimes we didn't have the sticker. But this was every one of the, and this is true. Every one of these parks we went in had bear-proof containers. They didn't have this kind of sign on it. They had bear-proof containers, but they did have signs on every entry road, new recent signs saying, bears are active today in the park. So they are out and around in every one of these parks. I think this is my choice. You can comment. This is my choice for best picture of the tour. This is Split Rock Lighthouse. Sits up on that peak there. I think it was, I can't remember exactly. I think it was 1905 or 09. They lost 9, and it was 05. They lost 9 ships in 1 year in 1 week off the point of this peninsula here. So Congress funded the money to build this lighthouse. And there was no, of course, there's no river, there's no beaches, there's no things, there is no docks, no way to build a dock. So you have to come up, and they have a crane lift at the top, hand run. And to build that thing, you got to winch everything up that cliff. Unbelievable. I love this picture. Once you know, when I knew about Split Rock a long time before this is the second most photographed lighthouse in the United States after one in Narragansett. And I can see why. It's really, really beautiful, but there is a problem. In order to get, again, those of you who are Facebook friends with me know this already. In order to get this shot, you have to do this. Now, I don't know if you can see clearly in that, but those stairs go all the way to the top of the slide. They don't stop in the middle. 258 steps. That's a lot of steps. So it's no work going down. You know, it's easy going down, but you pay a price to get that photo. This is down the beach from where we took that photo. We just walked down the beach. There's 100 places like this around the lake that you just stumble upon, these chasms and gorges and things that you stumble on, and they're just beautiful. That's Ginny, of course. And we're staying overnight in Two Harbors, so we had to go in, take a picture of the lighthouse in Two Harbors. But more interesting than the lighthouse was this. They have 2 active ore docks in Two Harbors. And this freighter, the Masabi Miner, was loading iron ore while we were there. It was really fun to watch. The trains were running in, train cars running in the ore dock, dump it in the top. Then that crane conveyor belt moves to those chutes and moves along. And then that crane got a conveyor and runs it out and fills the ship. And the ship is a little over 1,000 feet long. And while we were there watching, they filled a little over half of that ship. That's how fast they were going. It was, but really, really interesting to watch. Both those docks are active. And we're off next to Grand Marais. On the way, we go to, somebody can pronounce that, I think it's Tetaguch State Park. That's the mouth of the Baptism River, which is really pretty. You can kind of see a couple people standing up on top of that little cliff thing on the other side. It gives you an idea of size. There's a secondary shot. The waves had come up a little bit. Now, I should go back to when we were at the Apostle Islands. It was like glass. Lake Superior was like glass, the whole lake. And yeah, I asked the boat guy, because that's why we were able to go in and we're doing that by hand, moving in around those caves. And I said, how many times a year can you do this? He said, yeah, 3. Yeah, 3 times a year, it's quiet enough to go in the caves. So we were really lucky. These are only 6 or 8 foot waves, only. These are 6 or 8 for Superior. That's nothing. That's just your normal everyday waves, but they are enough now to give you some idea of Lake Superior. Yes, sir. The question is there a fence or guardrail? There are nothing around those parts. Yeah, kind of surprising. We've been all over the rest of the world, all over China, all over Asia. There's no fences. There's nothing wherever you go. We're the only country in the world that thinks people are going to fall off, which they do, because we have a bunch of idiots who want to take their picture right out. We saw one lady, I thought for sure she was going to fall off, taking a selfie, on backing up to one of those cliffs. That picture that I showed you before, this one, if you turn around and face the other direction, that's the picture. The other way. And this is where we were going. We just happened to walk down to the Baptism River. That wasn't a thing we intended to do. This is where we were going, which is Shovel Point in the park. And that Shovel Point out there. And that again is, if you have mobility issues, may not be the answer. Because we're not really fit or super fit or anything, but we can walk okay and we have good balance and do the things, but it's maybe a mile out there and a lot of stairs and a lot of kind of rough ground. So, but it's really worth going. Just take it slow and do it. That's, a third of the way. Now you start to see some of the shoreline there. That's what they call the Palisade. And that's really a nice view, that cliff view, the Palisade view of Shovel Point. I love this tree setup here. That's a boulder. And, that's a will to live there on those trees. I mean, holy mackerel. You gotta be impressed by that. Now, this view is from all the way at the end of Shovel Points. You get all the way to the end and turn back, and this is the view that you get, looking back the other way. I didn't put pictures in here, but at the very end, there were 2 people rappelling down the Palisade. So they have, in the park area there, they have permanently installed like crampons. I don't know exactly what you call the things you put in rocks, but they're just a round metal device like that they can clip into with their stuff. And they're permanently set in place so that people can rappel off the side there. And there were 2 people doing that when we were there. Unfortunately, they were slow as molasses getting fixed up because we were going to stay and watch them. But we said, oh man, we're running out of energy and ideas here. So we didn't stay. And then we went on up to Grand Portage, which is right on the border. Grand Portage is right on the border with Canada. This is the Grand Portage National Monument. It's a cooperative venture, the only one in existence with the National Park Service, with the Ojibwa Nation. And really kind of it's to represent a trading post in the 1790s as part of the fur trading operation, and primarily beaver. And this was all driven by French fashion, which then dictated all fashion everywhere in Europe. And that was these beaver hats. The top hats were made out of beaver. In 1792, this place, this fur trading company, transshipped 182,000 beaver pelts. In 1792, 182,000 beaver pelts. Think of that. We don't understand the commerce and the things and the idea, how things worked back then. This is, of course, at this site, this is a reproduction, of course, but they still every day build birch bark canoes in this building. Every day they are in there constructing birch bark canoes. And that's what they did in this building in the 1790s, is they built and they sold them to trappers. Yes, sir. Yes, the question is, how many people might typically be at this location during the trading season, during the high season? And it's only a few months long. And there could be 200 to 300 people at the location. They had guest accommodations for 50. I'm talking like hotel room style place. Now, it's like bring your own sleeping bag. This is the wilderness here, but they had these sleeping rooms, and they had a massive dining room where they had fur traders, and then they had the trappers, and the traders and the trading, those are the rich people, and then the trappers and any of the things. And they could seat 25 at each of those tables at night to serve a meal. And they would serve more than one seating in there. And then it was really interesting because they showed you the various level of crystal and porcelain that was allocated to the trappers, and then what was allocated to the traders. And quite a difference in quality and characteristics between the dishes and the crystal, between those two sets of people. And that's where this happened, Mike, was in those two buildings up there ahead. That's where all this happened. Those buildings there. Really well done, well presented. Oh my God, guess what's in Grand Marais? A craft brewery, but this may not be the best. The next one may not be the best picture in the thing, but I think it's the best. Anybody know what a charcuterie tray is? This next picture is the best one I've ever had. This is in this brewery with that beer. Look at that fish. And everything on here is handmade in that brewery. Everything. They smoke their own fish, they make their own jam, they make their own bread, they make their own unleavened bread, they pickle their own pickles and onions, they make their own cheese. Everything on that tray is made in that brewery building. So they get the award. Best charcuterie tray ever. Oh my goodness, another waterfall. The reason we went up there to Grand Portage, to this waterfall, and to the monument, and then back to Grand Marais, which is like 35 miles. Went backwards because of the weather forecast. Because it's been raining, it was raining. Looks like it's not, but it's raining when we took that picture. It rained for 3 days, and then in Thunder Bay, it really rained. And so we went up and did this to try to get there before the quote real rain. So now we're on the way to Thunder Bay. This is about 30 miles west of the town of Thunder Bay. This is Kahabeka Falls. It is the second highest and largest waterfall in Canada after Niagara Falls. So it gives you some idea. There were 6 people there that day. Raining, it was raining, but still, nonetheless, 6 people. That's the falls. Really, really impressive waterfall. And really cool because only 6 people. We went shopping in, I thought this was kind of cool. That's in Thunder Bay in a mall in Thunder Bay. Anybody heard of Persians? Okay, see, now you will, if you decide to do this and you get the little magazine or you get the book, you learn about Persians. They were invented in Duluth. And they are like a Bismarck, anybody, or a filled donut kind of a thing. Those are Persians. And the guy who invented them is the Persian man. And he's got 2 outlets in Duluth. This was the closest one to us. This is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, actually, it was 2 minutes to 3, because at 3 o'clock, you get coffee and a Persian for $2. So Ginny says, we're waiting. I mean, we've got the stuff laying there and the ladies are ringing us up. And Ginny says, 2 minutes. And so she gave it to us. There were a steady stream of people starting at 3 o'clock because the locals, they're all locals. The locals know 3 o'clock, $2, coffee and a Persian. So a steady stream of people. Really, really good. The Bismarck, the dough part of it is the same as everybody else's. No difference. The frosting is unbelievable. Don't know how they did it. Don't know what they do, but that's the deal, is the frosting. And then we went to this, the real Canadian Superstore. And we do this probably every 3rd night or sometimes even more often because we eat out for lunch. We do things. We go to a grocery store, buy stuff, take it to the room and eat in the room. So that's what we were doing. That's why we went to this store, to do dinner shopping. Took it to our hotel room. This is the view out our window. That gives you an idea what that day was like. It was like that all day. It's raining during this picture. That's a little covered walkway down there. So being the tourists that we are, we say, well, we've had a little to eat. Let's get out and walk around, even though it's raining. So we go down across that walkway in through the park. It's a really nice little park over in there. But mainly what we were going to see was this. And that's the harbor light out there. And that's really an unusual piece of work, that harbor light out there. So you can't, well, you can get out to it. But from where I'm standing taking that photo, it's about a 3-mile walk to get out there because you have to go around and then out that causeway to get out to it. And I wasn't up for that in the rain. I was not doing it. Out of Thunder Bay, we headed north and we went to the Amethyst Mine Panorama. There's 2 of them that are kind of tourist oriented. That whole area north of Thunder Bay, famous for amethyst, about an hour north. Got the guided tour of the mine, how they do it and what they do. It's in layers. They can do like sonic testing, find out where the layer is. They scrape it off in 3-foot chunks, 3-foot sections, bring it up, spread it out, and then look at the amethyst and pick out the ones, what they want on the thing. So you get to do it the same way that they would do it, kind of. So this is the owner's daughter. She's given us this is a core block, the size that they would normally take. There you go, get your pail, and you go out into the picking yard, which you see out there. And that's where each day they run truckloads of amethyst ore up into that yard, and you walk around, you pick up, and you can buy whatever you want, $3 a pound. This is Ginny Hart. So I have these with me to show you what they looked like. And I was looking for ones that showed the ore characteristics. Ginny was looking for ones to tumble. Now, we don't have a tumbler, but we're going to put the word out and see anybody we know who has a tumbler. We're going to try to tumble some of the pieces. And I have those with me too. So when we're done, I'll show you the amethyst. That's hers. This is Canada's longest suspension bridge. If you notice in the paper, there's a new one going in over at Boyne that's going to be 1,200 feet long, nearly double the length of this. But this is 600 feet, still pretty impressive. You got to pay to go there. This is the only thing, and I'll talk later, you had to pay in cash, no credit cards. Again, there were 6 people there total the day we were there. That's Ginny on the short bridge. They have 2 bridges, a 300-foot bridge and a 600-foot bridge. That's the 300-foot one. That's me starting out across the 600-foot one. That's one of the other 4 people that are out there at the other end of the bridge. I walk all the way across the bridge. Ginny waits on this side, and then I take a picture of her waving at me. That's a picture of her waving at me from the other side of the bridge. So it is pretty long, and it bounces and rocks even with 2 people. They allow 20 people maximum on the bridge at any one time. If you don't like heights, 20 people on that bridge is not going to be your idea of a good time. I am here to tell you. Rainbow Falls. This is an interesting shot here, and I took this because I read the little plaque about 20 feet downstream from where I took this shot. I read a plaque that said, every rock that you see along this river is pink granite, but 70% of them are covered in lichen. And so they're gray. So our idea when we see granite a lot of times is we're seeing lichen in the coverage on the rock. We're not seeing the rock. So I thought that was kind of interesting. This is not an operative lighthouse. This is a tourist monument in town. They took the light and then built this little walkway underneath it to try to attract tourists into the town. This is right outside the town of Terrace Bay, maybe a half a mile outside town. That's as close or the best picture you can get of that falls. But the gorge, again, is really impressive. It's raining, so the picture doesn't come out quite as good as you would hope. But who's heard of Winnie the Pooh? How many people know the true Winnie the Pooh? The true Winnie the Pooh is from White River, Canada. That's Winnie the Pooh on the right-hand picture. She was bought by a conservationist in the town from a trapper when she was this big. He took her away, kept her, raised her, and eventually shipped her to London, to the zoo. This boy fell in love with this bear in the zoo. The boy's name is Christopher Robin. The boy's name is Christopher Robin Milne, who is A.A. Milne's son. So that's Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin, the real ones. And that's the birth of that whole story, really is in White River, Canada. So, yeah. And then there's Wawa. And this is another piece of road art built initially in 1963 and then updated in 2017. But it's built in 63 because the road was completed then and Wawa is bypassed by the new road. And so they wanted something to try to get tourists to come into the town. They came up with this giant goose. which Wawa in Ojibwa means wild goose. And this is one of your more typical trails. So you do need a sense of balance, and just take it slow and going out there. But you get this is worth it. That's one of the more impressive falls that we saw. And then, of course, and I didn't bring this because I was worried that you can't drink alcohol in an ACC building, but I couldn't remember and think, is that true, Ron? Yeah, I was going to just beg for, it's always better to beg forgiveness than ask permission. But we went to this we saw a sign when we're going to the waterfall said fresh wild blueberries. So we went there, and of course they don't have fresh wild blueberries because it's September and wild blueberries are done. But they have blueberry wine, blueberry this, blueberry that, and they had blueberry rhubarb wine. Now, you don't know it. I'm kind of a wine snob. I really know a lot about wines, and I don't do fruit wines, But we're here, so we said, let's try this wine. It's really good. It's really, really good. So I was going to bring it here. And then we bought what? Blueberry horseradish jam.
Love that.
Yeah, blueberry horseradish jam. And we said, what in the world? And she says, yeah, when you're making your next charcuterie tray, instead of your normal stuff, use this. It'll be the hit of the thing. So haven't tried it yet, but I'm going on this lady's recommendation that was there. We were the second person she saw all day in this little place. That's our last falls of the day. These are, the pictures are kind of nice, but waterfalls are really cool because of the sound. Because when you're a quarter mile away, half mile away, you're getting there. Yeah, Bob.
Have you ever videotaped any of this right here just for your own?
Yeah, I have that, but it's really hard to embed it in this stuff. So
the noise itself, like the ocean.
It's really impressive. That's what's impressive about water, especially these bigger ones in the back where you can get right up next to them. It's loud and it's fun, and you get a real sense of the power when you can hear that noise, and you really don't get that from it's kind of sad, but you don't get it from the pictures. And I have all kinds of videos, but trying to put them into these presentations, too hard to do, The question is, what kind of stone? And this is basalt, which is a lava, is a lava volcanic stone. And almost from we saw the sandstone things in the Apostle Islands out there, but then once you get past about that area and more up toward Thunder Bay, everything is basalt. So all these waterfalls you see and basalt's really, really hard stone, much more hard than granite and sandstone and any of these other stones. So you get all this kind of hexagonal things and smooth surfaces because it just doesn't erode like other stone does. It's really, really good, interesting stuff. This won the best decor for any of the hotels we stayed in. This is in Wawa. The other thing, and we'll talk about this, I'll talk about hotels and things in a little bit. We ate dinner in Wawa at one of the best restaurants we've ever eaten in Wawa. This place, Kinawabi Pines, it was a quarter mile from our hotel, right across the road. Doesn't look impressive, looks okay, kind of nice. The owners are from Trinidad. The owner was our waiter. His brother, who cooked in 4-star restaurants in London, is now the chef there. His wife is Indian. His mother is French. And so you pick up this menu and it goes, and they've got Caribbean and French and Chinese and Indian and everything you can imagine on the menu. And it came out and it was really good. I mean, the chef was a chef. He was not a cook. He was not messing around. So this was a really, and it's probably one of two places we went out to eat in the evening the whole time. It's really a nice, this was truly fine dining out there. Totally full. I made reservations because I read about them online. You couldn't get in that day. In Wawa, you can't get into this place. Now we're on the way from Wawa. We're supposed to be saying, oh, we're going to stay overnight in the Sioux, do the locks and some, which we've already done before, but that's the plan. And there's like 10 important things to see and do between Wawa and the Sioux. And as we're heading out, this is the first one. It's raining, but we decided to go down and take a look. This is Old Woman Bay, which is really picturesque, huge, huge beach area. And you know, I don't associate huge beach areas with Lake Superior, but this is a really popular beach up here. People come. And I think the rain quit for like 4 seconds and I got this picture. And then I was going to go, there's a place called the Agawa Rock Petroglyphs. And they're on a cliff this is Lake Superior and they're here. And you got to go down this really kind of interesting trail to get there. It's raining and you can't see 100 feet in the fog, but Ginny wasn't going because everything's too slippery and muddy and raining, so I went. This is the start, down, and then it goes into those trees, down. And then to this, and then to this, and then you get to the rock. And this rock has fallen into the gorge from above and is wedged halfway down in the rock. And it's an unfortunate, function of the lighting of that day with the totally fog-covered, rainy things that it's not as clear. The rock is not as clear as I would hoped it, but it's very impressive in person. And I did not go to the petroglyphs, and I'll show you why. This is not my photo. This is the petroglyphs. Look at that slope of that thing that you have to stand on. Now they have a little rope you can hang on to. So, but it's raining and foggy and things my day. So that's like glass out there. There was a young man, he was from Ontario, from London, Ontario. He's on his way to British Columbia by himself, and he stopped in here. So we meet in that really sharp part of the trail going down. And that's where I learned this about him. And I said, well, I'm not going. He says, well, I'm going to try it. So he went. I go back out. He comes back out. We take two kind of separate trails out. We meet outside. He dropped his phone trying to take a picture of the petroglyphs. So, a young man, 20 years old, everything he knows and owns on his phone. And it's now in Lake Superior. So that's my side story on the petroglyphs. And from there to the Sioux, it was this. I'm not kidding you, 100% like this from there all the way to the Sioux. Through customs, through the bridge toll. We were supposed to stay overnight in the Sioux. We're going home. Get to the bridge. That's the picture of the bridge. It was boom. Blue skies, clear, welcome home signs. It was amazing. It was just drove out of everything in that thing. So it was crazy. So that's the end. Here's some lesson learned. It's definitely worth the trip and effort. However, it requires a lot of planning and research if you're going to get out of it what you should going around doing all these times. Weather is a huge factor. If it's going to rain, you got to just be willing to go. Unless it's pouring. You got to just go and do in the rain. We learned that in Europe. We lived in Germany twice. It rains all the time. So you learn just to go and do. Duluth's a really great city. We're going back. We love Duluth. Shoreline changes constantly. You know that. Stop often. Lodging was full. Everything, everywhere was full until we got to Wawa. And then it was about 75% full in Wawa. So if you're not a camper, which we are not, You have to get reservations. You're not going to be able to drive into a town and get a hotel. Not going to happen. So that kind of restricts you because you're tied now to your plan, which is what happened to us. The campgrounds were worse. Never ever saw a sign for a campground that was not full, including Wawa and Old Women Bay, and everywhere, every single park we were in, they were full. So getting to some of these sites requires more than a mile of walking, sometimes with a lot of stairs, sometimes with a lot of roots and rocks. Just know that it's like that. You can do it. Take your time. It's worth doing. Nearly every store or restaurant takes credit cards on the things. Some only take cash, like the suspension bridge. They turn people away all the time because they get out there and don't have the money. It's $22 a person. And then planning is essential. That's it. Oh, man, that's pretty good for me. Yeah, okay, got a couple of questions.
Would you recommend a motorhome, small motorhome, if you're traveling?
Oh, sure. If you're a motorhome person, if you have one, they're everywhere. It requires the same amount of planning to make sure you got a place to put your motorhome, because there are not Walmarts and big parking lots that allow overnight parking. I didn't see any. And all of the campgrounds were full. So yes, it's a perfectly good idea. You just got to do the same amount of planning to have your space when you get, yeah, go ahead. The question is, how long were we gone? And we were gone 13 days. Planned on 14, we're gone 13 days. I would say 12 days for that route. The way we did it, because it takes time to do those walks, to get to the waterfalls, to see those things. You're talking an hour and a half, at least, at every event. So we had to have one, maybe two too many days because they were just too close together. I was doing it off the map and do. So I'd say, like, I would take 12 days if it were me. Question is what month, and the answer is this month. We left on the 8th of September and got back 3-4 days ago. Yeah, this is current info. Current info. Ron.
Two stops between the Louvre and Butter Bay and
Yeah, it's correct. We did two. We stopped at 2 harbors in Grand Marais. Between those two, and I would not stop at 2 harbors. I would go to 2 harbors because you want to see the things that are in 2 harbors, the waterfall, the lighthouse, Split Rock Lighthouse, and the ore docks. You want to see those things, but it's only 40 miles from Duluth to 2 harbors. So I would do those things and then stay at Grand Marais if it were me, again. Okay, Mike.
Cell phone?
Question is, did I do anything special with my cell phone? And the answer is no, I did not. I turned off international roaming. So I didn't use my phone for navigation. Okay, and I didn't use my phone for internet while up there. But I have I'm an AT&T and I have unlimited something, in Canada roaming's included. So your phone works fine. You can text. You can do all those things that you want to do. And then I just I took my laptop and I relied on my laptop for communications. And then it's really nice when you're doing traveling like this and you do what I do, which is give these talks. This is what I did every night. So we'd get into the hotel room and I'd take 2 or 3 hours and do that day's stuff on this. And then I'm done. And I don't have to do it. But the answer is no. You just want to check with your there was one place where we didn't have coverage, where whatever AT&T didn't have a reciprocal agreement with whatever little company covered that town, so we didn't have any coverage. But if you're not a unlimited plan with AT&T, it's $10 a day.
Oh, yeah, if you go up that way, you get warnings sometimes.
Yeah, and one thing you want to do is you want to turn off your international roaming, and go into your settings, into your I forget what the subcategory is. And then, but you just go in there and turn off international roaming. And then that's where the charges get up, because people use their maps on their phones all the time. I do too, in the States. But man, you are pulling down data if you're using that thing for directions and doing it. So you don't want to do that. You want to, pardon me?
Even pay $10 a day.
Yeah, even if you pay the $10 a day, it depends on the kind of plan you have. So data plan, because the $10 a day is your phone and your phone's not your data. Those two things are totally different. And so you need to check with whatever company you have and see, I have an unlimited thing, but that's not unlimited international roaming. It's unlimited in the US. So you need to check with your provider. I've heard that some of the others are much better. They have unlimited international roaming in Canada and Mexico. I can't remember. What's the pink one? The pink no, not Verizon. T-Mobile. My sons both have T-Mobile. They travel to Mexico and things a lot. And T-Mobile, from what they say, T-Mobile has unlimited everything Canada and Mexico. So, and that's worth, checking into. Yeah, Pam. Okay, the question is, what did you have to fill out or do to go into Canada? And it just changed 2 days ago. Yes. It was still in effect when we went. You had to fill out an app. You had to download an app on your phone and fill out an app called Arrive Canada. It's a governmental app, and you fill it out, and it's got all your information, your passport information, your vaccination information, all those things on it. And then within 72 hours, you don't do that way in advance. You have to submit that within 72 hours of when you're going to show up to cross the border. And in the app, it asks you what time. Well, who knows? When you're driving, you don't know. So you just pick a time. But, and then, so what happens is we get to going through the things and you can't get cell phone coverage underneath their Canada. And I said, well, I did the app. And he says, that's all right. It'll be in our, if you did it, we have it. Okay. And so it was, and it was all there. Well, 2 days ago, I get a message from them that says Canada has changed that and Arrive Canada is no longer required. It's optional. It's optional, and it will speed you through if you do it, but it's not required anyway. So does that answer it, Pam? Yes. Right. Correct. Yeah, Bill, the question is it true that you no longer have to do the Arrive Canada Act, but do you still need your vaccination records and things? And the answer is yes. The app is no longer mandatory, but you still need the vaccination information. What was in the email I got said they think that really soon they're going to do away with the vaccination requirement. But as of right now, you still needed the vaccination card. But you no longer need the app. And that app was a pain in the butt kind of a thing to do. Yeah, Florence. The question is, what kind of ID can you cross, or do you need to cross the border with? And the answer, as Florence said, is of course passports are preferred. And if it were me, I'd recommend everybody have a passport and do a passport. But it's legal to go across on an enhanced driver's license. So by land and sea. I land and sea because I do sea. I'm a sea kind of guy too. So by land and sea, but by air, no, you've got to have a passport. But yes, driving, you can